Hello, welcome to Skull RPG Podcast. My name's Dwight Skull.
My name's Jacob Skull.
And today we're going to teach you how to tell your story.
So, Dwight, one of the other things that goes along with our last one about clues is if you have this epic campaign and you forgot to mention certain things about foreshadowing and then what you think is this obvious twist reveal at the end, your players get blindsided by. How would you address that by actually properly putting in ways to do foreshadowing?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would tell you is go to skullrpg.com and then go to /courses and check out my Just Enough Planning course that'll show you how to do that and not get caught. So you can actually note any foreshadowing events every single game session.
Mm-hmm.
But not to just pitch my product, let's go back a step and let me talk about how not to do it. So let's just talk about, okay, this is Harry Potter spoilers, okay? And again, the books have been out for 20 years now, so come on, people. And the movie's been out for 10. So anyway, spoilers on Harry Potter. Here we go. In Harry Potter, you have an invisibility cloak that is worn by Harry Potter. There's like 3 or 4 one-off lines that say that most invisibility cloaks only last a couple of years, and this one has been passed down from his father, who's been dead for at least 12 years, and he had it
For like
he was
6 or 7 years.
right. So this invisibility cloak is different than everybody else's, and it's mentioned a couple of times but never really gone into. So this is a great example actually of foreshadowing done incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
So out of that, then in another book, there is and there's a story of Beetle the Bard, who has all these collection of short stories, and she even came out with a collection of short stories, and in it is the tale of the 3 brothers, where they all basically cheat death, and death congratulates them and says you can have anything you want. One brother asks for the wand that can kill any wizard. One brother asks for a stone that can basically bring his loved ones back from the dead. And then one brother asks for an invisibility cloak. Cool. You see that. You see the story. It's never really mentioned much, and it's done. And then book 7 comes, and the entire book 7 is about the Deathly Hallows, these 3 things, the wizarding wand that can kill everybody, which Dumbledore has had in his possession for a long time, and you didn't know that. And then the resurrection stone, you've also dealt with. It was you've seen it around too somehow. And then now you have the cloak of Harry, and you're just supposed to realize, oh, of course, this has been happening the whole time.
That Harry just happened to have all of them in the last movie and a half.
Well, that's the whole point, right? Okay, fine. That's how you do foreshadowing dumb, because no one sees it coming. How you can do foreshadowing correctly is actually for your players to get an idea of what's happening. So, an example would be this. You have a big bad who is the big bad of the entire story. Not a lesser big bad in a subplot, but the big one. The one that you have to defeat, right? It's the typical, we have to go and defeat evil wizard so-and-so. Cool. No one knows evil wizard so-and-so's name.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows who he is. No one knows how long he's been around. Fine. So what I would start doing is I would start finding 3 key items or 2 key items or 7 key items that belong to that wizard so-and-so. And I would start dropping them in after they beat certain mini bosses. It's the subplot bosses, and maybe if you think of life as a video game, every level there's a boss. Every mid-level there's like a mid-level mid-level boss, and there's a final level boss, and then there's a final boss. And I know maybe that just lost you, but okay, you're going through level 1. You get halfway through level 1. There's a guy who's stronger than every guy you fought, and then you go fight a bunch more minions, and then at the end of level 1, there's a guy who's stronger than that mid-level guy. And then you do the same thing level 2 and level 3 and level 28 or whatever, how many levels there are. And then you finally beat the big bad guy at the very end of the game, and then the game, rolls to some sort of ending credit scene. And if it's like a Nintendo game, it's like totally the ending was not worth the gameplay. So that said, so here's what you do. So they beat mini boss number one in the middle of stage one, and they find a letter, and it's from an underling to an underling, and it mentions somebody else's name. No idea who it is. Cool. Then level two's main boss they kill, and they find the diary of that same person's name that they found a long time ago. And in that diary, that person talks about their rise to power and certain things, but not fully, they haven't changed their name yet. And then you keep going, and then maybe they find an amulet or a spell book or, some sort of item of power of that person. And eventually they're going to start collecting stuff from that person or from that person's parents or something like that. And they start to slowly piece together that this person was really powerful. And then you can do, quote unquote, the big reveal and the foreshadow at the same time, where the last mini boss that they kill before the final boss has some sort of object on his or her person that reveals like the last 3 pages of the diary you found. And it shows them naming themselves as the big bad of the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go out and do all these destructive acts, and you already know about their history because that's why you're fighting them. And now you realize, oh man, this person's been very helpful to us. It's been, because we've been able to read their stuff. Maybe they got a couple really cool spells out of the deal. Maybe there's some of the amulets and stuff that you found are actually really important and really powerful. Maybe with all those items that you've collected, you can actually kill the big bad. Not easily, but like a lot easier. So if you put the big bad like 6 or 7 levels above the players at all times, which means certain total party kill at that point, unless somebody rolls really horrible, i.e. the GM, and somebody rolls really good, i.e. all the players, everyone's going to die. But with all those artifacts and all that knowledge, it literally negates certain abilities that 7 levels above would have. So like maybe you find a ring of, like that blocks all disintegration spells. So that disintegrate, and it's like in a group. It's like a group ring. It's like this cool artifact. Now disintegrate, which is like the go-to spell.
X amount of feet around the wearer, you're immune to disintegration spells.
It's like a shield.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see how over time, by collecting all these things, you've now diminished the effect of the big bad on your thing. And then with that big reveal, you've been maybe following a hero, like a hero's journey, which we have an episode on, and then you realize that the hero fell.
Mm-hmm. And never got redeemed.
Yep. And now you're, I guess, redeeming the villain by killing it? But that's how I would do foreshadowing, is I would figure out what I want to tell, and then I would figure out how many items do I need to drop, or how many clues do I need to drop to get that done.
Hey, thanks for listening.
And for more resources, please go to skullrpg.com.